Hey, what's up? Last night I had one of the funnest days that I've had in a long time since this closing, whatever you call it, that we're in. I pulled out my drone and I flew it right when the sun was setting. I'm sorry I don't have video for that, but next time I will. And me and Jose, you'll know him, but you'll meet him later when we do the session I told you about in the previous video, where we had the session with the King. We flew, yeah, Sex King, that was a cheap plug, but I had to throw it out there. Feeding the Thought presents a session with the King. King Talks, however you want to look at it. Yeah, tune in for that. And then if you're on podcast, podcast, right? I'm sorry, podcast. Get It In is where you'll find the conversation if you're not looking at it on the video here. But anyway, let's get back to where we was at. Since this whole pandemic has came, we've been kind of sheltered, we're kind of closing. I don't know about y'all, but in Florida, we're now opening up. We're almost like wide open. So we were able to go to a park and fly the drones right when the sun was setting and right before it got too dark. You know, it was amazing to watch those, I call them birds, just fly back and forward and seeing the lights flash and the different colors that we were seeing, and just see how people would look up and watch these drones fly so freely like birds to the sky. For the first time in my own eyes, I thought I had control over the world. In my own little world, that own little space, me and my drone just doing it, you know, flowing back and forth. It was amazing to me. For the first time, I felt free again, not restricted by anything that the pandemic brought about. And I realized it's time for us to become free. It's time for us to come out of that box. It's time to try to regain this new sense of newness that we have. Yeah, we still have the mask that we have to wear. We still have maybe taking the test and getting the vaccine. But eventually, we're going to be like the drones. We got the whole sky, the whole world to soar in. I know some of you are not flying. Some of you are not going on cruises. Some of you are not going to parks. I understand that. That's going to take time. But there's other things we can do. This world is beautiful. I'm sitting down in the park and the breeze is coming by. I know you see the tree behind me, but there was a guy. They're gone now. They were flying kites. I think in their way, they were getting out of the house. They were doing something that they love. Or maybe it's a new hobby. I would encourage you all, while you was in the pandemic, you learned how much you love life, how you enjoyed your family, how you connected, how you started some entrepreneurs movement, how you made some necessary changes to adjust to the bubble-like setting that we were in. And you found out that you can work within it, and you were quite successful. So I clap hands to you. But now that we have learned that, it's time to expand our bubble or step out of our bubble and begin to put these things into plan. Many of us found hobbies inside. Many of us started some goals and some admirations, some things that we wanted to do after this pandemic passes. Now it's passing. Are you doing that? Are you getting out and putting your pieces to the puzzle together? Or are you still sitting in your made-up bubble, too scared to go and engage and see? You can't be so fearful of life anymore. I mean, we shouldn't be fearful anyway because we have no control over what it is. We just have to deal with it. But you did an extremely effortless effort when you stayed in the house and you protect yourself. The CDC asked us to keep the mask on. We kept the mask on. We washed our hands. We don't have to stop that. Some of us who do the washing of hands and cleansing us on a regular basis found it just the norm. The only thing we had to different was the mask. And I don't know about y'all, but them first couple masks we got, man, I couldn't even breathe through them. But as time went on, we start finding other masks that will allow us to breathe easier, but also keeping us safe, not only for ourselves, but other people. But with that, we made adjustments. I'm just trying to encourage you now, those adjustments while you were in the bubble. You said that you were going to do these things and that thing. Some of you all decided that I'm going to see the world from a different view. Well, it's time to start. You don't have to go and hurry up and jump on a plane or get on a cruise line or any other activity like that. But what about getting up and do a walk and just see what's around in your community? Get in your car and go to another park and see what's happening in their community. You can still wear your mask. You can still put your protective on. I mean, it's getting warm now. I mean, there's a lot of things that's open. I know here in Florida, we have a lot of things opening where people are starting to congregate and have fun again. The numbers are extremely low, almost, you know, unrecognizable. I mean, I think it's like 5% or less, but We were in the teens. We was in high numbers. Now we're under 5 and managing, and things are now opening up where eventually this is going to be going down to 3, 2. I still think we'll always have a percentage of it around, but with the vaccine and different things they're putting in place, it may take away that fear that many of us had when all we knew if you caught it, you were dying. So now you're seeing that that's not so any much. I mean, we still have people that are leaving this world, but it's not as rapid as it was before. And I don't know if everything was based off in, the 19 or it was other surrounding issues that individual may or may not have. I don't know. I'm not trying to talk about those things. I just want to make mention that even in that, we had to learn how to live in this new environment that we're now facing. So just because we made an adjustment in that, it shouldn't stop our dreams. It shouldn't stop our willingness to travel. Listen, you can travel anywhere you want. Maybe you just have to be a little more careful of who you engage when you get there. If you want to fly, make sure you have everything on. I flew 3-4 times during the pandemic. And I just had my mask on hands, and I was very careful who I touched. I made sure I cleaned. I made sure that I kept social distance as much as possible. Couldn't do much on the plane, but I made sure that while on the plane, I had everything I needed. I mean, some people on there, they look like they was in the surgical gear and stuff like that. I wasn't to that extreme. I just made sure that I had a mask on, and I stayed my distance. I didn't have the goggles and all that stuff on, just a mask. And I made sure I had a nice mask. I had a double 2 masks on, and as often as I needed to breathe, I would lift it just a little bit so I can get some air. But that worked for me, and I have never tested positive for the COVID because I think I did all that I needed to do to protect myself. I believe many of us have been around people who have had it, but because our immune system is what it is, maybe we already fought it off. Maybe we already had the antibiotics in our body. I don't know, and I'm not trying to tell you that my life was any better than yours. But one thing I can tell you, when I was flying that drone, I realized that I'm free. And I've always been free in my mind. I began to tap into those resources that I had hidden in my mind, my creativity. I began to wake up my innovation, to do anything, to just begin to dream. Believe it or not, this pandemic has taught me to dream again. Capitalize on the possibilities. There was no limits that I couldn't do. We were forced to be in an internet environment where we began to do everything through our computers or cameras, to this, to now. We're to a place where we've been practicing so long, now we can master some skills that we wouldn't have done it due to our busy work life or our personal life. Because we were closed in, we had to find a way to escape. Hey, let's capitalize that. Escape from this. Find your source that you said you would do once this thing began to pass over, and get out and do it. Remember the drone, it was flying in the sky. And I was the one that controlled. At that time, I felt like I could go anywhere I wanted to go. As long as I had the little controls in my hand, I can go and do whatever I want. Well, I still got the controls in my hand, but I'm not flying the drone now. I got a control of pen to the paper. I have a control to my thoughts to tell my hand to create some things, to network with some people, to come in connection with other resources that can help those things that I wrote down in paper during the pandemic to fruition. Hey, all you business and entrepreneurs who have been thinking about a greater way to do things, here's your opportunity. Let's take advantage of it, and let's get out and do something. If anything, get out and get a fresh breath of air. You've been closed in your house, and dare to live. Go see what it is out here. You've been in your bubble too long. Get out and get some air. I'm not saying that you got to be engaging, but these parks are open. They got a lot of places that you can walk around, and you can walk on one side while somebody walks on the other. Social distance yourself. I mean, you're walking, you're moving, you're not sit there congregating. And if you did, there's nothing wrong with putting a mask on, and both of you are. Maybe you need to team up with somebody. Maybe it's time to get your exercise on. I know what you're saying. No, I'm not talking about that you picked up too much weight while you're, that's what you're saying. But if you did, how about let's exercise a little bit. Take a little brisk walk here and there to try to help you to reduce some of the additional weight that you said that you brought on. Or maybe while you're there, change some of your eating habits. Try to figure out how you can do something to live a healthier life. I don't know. Whatever you decided to do, here's the opportunity to make the change. I'm just inspiring you to get up and do something. Get out the bubble. Open the door. Take a few steps out. See what there is to offer. And maybe put one foot in front of the other. You'll find yourself in a new place with new hope, new possibility. Hey, this is JT, feeding the thought. Just want to drop by. You can make a change. Open the door. Look out. See what the world has to offer. It's time to leave the bubble. JT, I'm out of there.